Hello, leaders of the world. Welcome to Spread Love in Organizations, a podcast for purpose-driven healthcare leaders striving to make life better around the world by leading their teams with genuine care, servant leadership, and love. I'm Naji. In this episode, get ready to have your mind challenged with what social impact really means. We'll dive with Angel Perez, a passion that became now his company's purpose to build a better world. Angel is founder and managing partner at Transcendent, a business impact consulting firm. He has an extensive experience in the pharmaceutical industry, leading commercial organization as a general manager and marketing leader. Before founding his company, he served as the senior director, marketing capabilities, commercial operations at Eli Lilly, heading different transformations, including marketing automation and creating closer collaborations with startups and public bodies. Ángel was named one of the 2015 Internationalists of the Year by the Internationalist. He lives now in Madrid, Spain. Ángel, I am so happy to have you with me today and so much looking forward to our conversation.
My pleasure, Naji. Thanks for having me here.
So Ángel, between all these lines of your career, the great success that you had both in pharma and now actually starting a business and a growing business, can you tell us a little bit about your story? What got you into healthcare and now even a broader impact in the world?
Sure, thanks a lot. Well, I guess that my journey within business, I had a degree in economics. I had an MBA at Manchester Business School, and straight from that, I joined Eli Lilly, a fantastic company to grow as an individual, and luckily in my case as a leader, having marketing and sales experience in Spain, and very quickly being promoted into opportunities and challenges. I think that I've been extremely blessed by the people leading or having ahead of me. My career within pharma in Lilly went quickly, being the managing director in Denmark. Well, we might talk about this later, but most probably not being ready to perform at the age of 34, leading a country, but with plenty of people around who wanted to help. And we were lucky in some cases, and also through hard work, to manage to achieve the performance that was expected. And then getting into regional positions with the need of leveraging different skills to lead or to make things happen. And we can double click into that later as well. I was having a fantastic multinational corporate career path. And quickly, well, something happened in 2014. And for me, that was my aha moment. We were with a group of marketers between Australia, Canada, and Europe, spending a few days in London, visiting companies, trying to open our minds on the commercial side and how could things be done differently in pharma, with a program organized by Wavelength. And well, the last visit on that trip was to a creative agency called Liberty, based in Brixton in London. And that company was the first time I came across a social enterprise, a very profitable company, but at the same time with a huge effort on helping kids and adolescents within the neighborhood to go back to the proper path on education, going to school or university, and using their insights even to win context and to win basically pitches on their business. And despite being in pharma and knowing that within pharma already we were making an impact, for me that was the big aha moment where I consider doing something else and not only pharma. Coming back to Spain, I very often say that trip triggered my curiosity for the first time. So when I came back to Spain, I started to try to know more about the social enterprise ecosystem in Spain. Luckily, thanks to the leadership in the Spanish affiliate and in the region, we managed to put together the first program in Spain to support social entrepreneurs in health, called Emprending Health, which is up and running, and this is its 5th year running in Spain. And that was not enough. And then, the big moment in my career was in 2017 when the decision, thanks to the support of my wife, was to leave almost 20 years successful career in Lilly and put together Transcendent, which, as you said, is a consulting firm helping companies to leverage impact as a platform to improve performance. 4 years ago, corporate social responsibility was somehow knowledge, but nothing about impact, not even ESG. Well, those topics that today we can know and are wider know than before were not concepts so much used in management as such. But the reality is that, but maybe unfortunately due to COVID, but the reality is that today we are growing, as you said, a company, a small service firm helping businesses to do better and to improve their top line through impact. And that is what is driving basically what I found as my why after being many years in pharma and now here.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. You know, how you're defining your why and how you're helping, obviously, companies get into performance through impact. Before, and I want us to discuss about, you know, you talked about CSR, impact. You're seeing this trend of companies changing now, finally, into getting into social impact rather than just responsibility as we had it. But before that, you talked about being very early on, 34 years, I think you said, taking a leadership position, having to drive as a general manager in Denmark, I think at that time, you know, your teams, your business. Tell us a little bit more about this, as we're seeing more and more leaders getting into leadership position early in their career, even earlier sometimes. And what are your learnings or words?
I usually get the feeling that I had some experiences too early in my life and I didn't make the most out of them. And this is probably one. But at the same time, something that is another topic that I always consider, or I'm usually quite optimistic and I see the glass half full always. I was clearly not at my best to deal with the situation in Denmark, but I was blessed and lucky with the people I had around. There was a leadership team in Denmark already up and running, and that helped a lot. And I was, and this is just not by chance, probably among the very good leaders I had within my career in Lilly. If I can pick just one, I would pick Patrick Johnson, who was the leader of the Scandinavian cluster on those days and was my boss. And he is, for me, the clear role model on how to balance being strong with operations and management and smart and soft and close to people on the people side. And I learned a hell of a lot looking at him. Competences when you are a young leader. Well, I think that the ones I'm going to name are maybe especially important when you are young, but probably are the ones that I try to still use these days when I'm not that young. I think that trying to be humble when you don't know things has been useful and powerful in my case. I think that cultivating empathy when you're talking with people is key, especially when you don't know about your business yet. I was lucky or blessed again to attend plenty of training courses, but there is one that I use and I still use very often, related with the book, The Mood Elevator, and with a single line that I keep very close. In fact, I have it in my office on "Be here now." When you are talking with someone, you have to be, or that person has to be the most important person in the world when you're talking with him or her. And then the other two that, again, is not only when you're young, I guess that probably they are forever, is if you are able to lead by example, most probably people will be following you. Clearly, when I was 34 or 35, I was not able to articulate this the way I have said it now. But probably those were the things that at that point, with a mix of intuition and knowledge, were the ones that allowed me, together with many people around, to be somehow successful.
Yeah, this is so powerful, really so powerful insights. And, you know, many times I say, you said it, combining two things that for me are really crucial for for leaders. I usually say love and discipline, right? Like this is what makes leaders successful, and you shared it. So you then led throughout different countries. You led globally, Australia, Canada, Europe, in moment of transformations, as you said, in marketing, in business. Anything from a leadership learning, as you went there and leading cross-function, cross-operationally, cross-functionally, and cross-country, also culturally. Mm-hmm. And anything that stood out for you as a leadership? Did anything change from those early learnings about genuine care and making sure operationally things are done, or do you think it's the same recipes but that you just need to adapt them?
Probably it is the same base. I mean, it's like olive oil for any dish you cook in Spain. You start with olive oil and garlic, maybe. So the main ingredients are the same, but then you need to use some other tactics to put it that way. When I move into a regional role, and again, what I'm going to say now sounds very natural to every one of us now with COVID, but again, back in 2009, excelling your virtual skills and how to lead from the distance, that was not so common. At a point, I mean, I was based in Spain, only with one direct report next to me in Madrid, and the group of 15 people reporting, and then longer groups were spread all over the place. So, for instance, I might only go 3 times a year to Canada. Because of the functional structure, I was not the owner of their budget. So how on earth can you be leading a group from the distance, not controlling the OPEX, but making things happen? And I think that the key recommendation or advice on that situation is you need to make sure that you try to lead by influencing. And the time you spend with people face-to-face, that you try to deliver or to provide some kind of lasting, trusting experience. And then you keep building on that while you're not there anymore. So going back to this, be here now, and that you can do it virtually as well. And that the last year we are excelling on that because there is no choice. But if you could only talk over the phone with someone in Australia every month, how do you make sure that half an hour that you are linking previous conversations, that you are keeping an eye on the love side, as you said, to then get deeper into the discipline piece and to try to keep some cadence or momentum despite being far away geographically and during the time as well, on the daily work. I think that by cultivating this trust in the distance and this sense of feeling that the one who is talking with you is really important for you, probably it was a relevant bond that made the ongoing managing and business discussions successful.
I want to switch now into, you shared about CSR, social impact, and I want to double click on this. And you said in the beginning, in healthcare, it's sometimes so obvious, but we don't look at it that way, right? Like our social responsibility, the impact that we bring with medicines, with care, devices, whatever in healthcare we are, is so massive. But then there's always, the CSR that feels a little bit disconnected, right? Like this corporate social responsibility. You took it to a different level, right? With you being curious in the beginning and now actually helping companies to have a social impact. Tell us a little bit about your journey here. How would you separate CSR from social impact? I saw you share this, and I agree with you. You say like only companies that include social impact in their core business will exist tomorrow. It's a very provocative way to saying it. So help us understand and how we as leaders can bring the social impact into our companies.
Very good. So first of all, disclaimer: I'm clearly positively biased to pharma industry because that is home. So and I guess that despite this bias, I think it's fair to say that the healthcare sector and the pharma industry does deliver a strong positive impact in society, full stop. Now, whether that is being properly perceived, whether that is considered as it should, whether the companies that are perceived to be changing the world are pharma companies or others, and it should be the other way, that is another debate, and I guess that's another podcast. Going to your question and trying to not to get very techy or sophisticated on the wording. We talk very often at Transcendent on the business impact journey, and this is agnostic of sectors, basically saying companies from the very beginning, imagine that a company has different boats or ships, right? And there is one ship, which is the business, the core business ship with the best boat, the best crew, with plenty of OPEX and resources, and they need to do better on the business side. They go that way. Then there is a smaller boats that are the ones with corporate social responsibility, that are trying to get some impact in society, but is far away from the core of the business. Okay? So when talking about CSR, this is like what do you do that is far away from your business, that is good for society? And that was like the bread and butter until I'm making, an overstatement, 5 years ago. Now, many times companies realize that, wait a minute, we might be doing better business by monitoring what our people in corporate social responsibility or in sustainability as such do. And suddenly they start getting together. And that is the next step. And that is what is starting to happen these days on saying, if we are smarter with these letters that are like buzz letters lately, this E for environment, S for social, and G for governance, this ESG. And you realize if we as a company not only report because it's mandatory to do this non-financial reporting, but we manage our ESG output properly, this is good for business. And that is the point when I go back to pharma and say, come on, the essence of pharma is do good. And it's not only to do better on the environment, it's the impact you have on society by having better molecules, better products, and providing better lives for the people who benefit from us. And that is what we want to believe, that we help companies to get at that point to understand putting the core of your business close to the effect you have on the environment, on the society, and how you do governance is good for your business in terms of output as such. And that is the next step. The promised land, the purpose island that is next is when you realize that it's not only about the output, it's about the outcome. What is the effect of your action on the people and on the planet out there? And that is when instead of measuring output, you measure the outcome of what are you doing there. So it's not only how many pills, how many treatments you have, what is the impact on the patients, on their lives? What is the impact? You start building proxies to put into, to value all the effect that you're doing in the case of pharma, and it's the same across sectors. So from CSR out of business to ESG, where suddenly business look at these outputs as an opportunity to perform better and to finally think about what is the impact I want to make proactively with society and basically the planet. If you look about environmental topics, those are the 3 stages of this business impact journey that we see in a very quickly, and I don't know if unorganized way, happening with companies. And that's what we're trying to do. We try to accelerate their journey to understand that the farther or the closer they get to their purpose, to this territory of purpose, the better it will be, not only for society, but clearly for their own business.
Yeah, that's powerful. And I'm going to do the link. You talked about social entrepreneurship and health that you built. And I know you've been always very active with startups and building things differently and really an adept of like small experiments, and then you can grow it. So how do you see this? Because the transformation you're helping companies to get to is obviously really, as you said, this promised island, right? And I'm not going to go into politics, what we're seeing globally, but obviously a lot of movements are not going there. So how are you helping people get there? Are you really looking at small things as you've done that have a big impact, right? Like with small entrepreneurship within a company and then building on this for people to get there? Or do you think at some point policies will change for us to get there? Like how are you laying this down for you to be able to work with companies?
Very good. Great question. Not easy to answer, because if I will try to, it should be different company by company, but I guess that there are at least 4 driving forces out there suggesting or even obliging companies to move. As you said, one is clearly regulation. And in the case of Europe, we were farther ahead. Now in the US, it's moving forward quickly. Companies do see now their obligation to report properly on this. And this is great because even the laggards are feeling that they need to raise the bar. That is one thing. Peer pressure. Luckily, we start to have champions almost in every sector of companies leading the way. And you don't want to be a laggard, as I said, so you want to do that as well. Society, customers, clients, very clear. Even if we don't do what we say in surveys, that we will always go for the super environmental opportunity and product, but the reality is that trend is irreversible. And not last, clearly not least, money itself. So today we see that investors are looking for opportunities to invest on ESG-related companies or opportunities, or even opportunities where you can measure the impact. So those external forces, we want to believe that are making the positive perfect storm for companies, for smart business leaders to realize, wait a minute, this is not lateral, this is not CSR, this is not a cost center, this could be a profit center. And that is a time when you can engage on a pure management business conversation with the C-suite, not talking about funding, which is fantastic, an NGO. It's about improving your performance based on impact. Now, how do you make that happen? How do you get the spark in different companies? Well, depending on their reality, their sensitivities, the challenge from the competitors. And going to your first point, in some cases, you might light the fire with the opportunity to put together companies with social entrepreneurs. And that's what we did at Lilly, starting in 2016 with this program, where basically Lilly, together with Unlimited Spain, an NGO that is which has the expertise to accelerate social entrepreneurs. Healthcare social entrepreneurs were incubated by Lilly and Unlimited Spain for 6 or 8 months, so that these guys with fantastic concepts at the very early stage got all the knowledge from Lilly employees in Spain to know about the sector. And that was a great time when you realize you know a lot about the sector and many people don't. And then Lilly was able, I always put the analogy of like opening the windows to get fresh air, no fear to failure, being far more curious, and looking at opportunities within pharma that potentially were unknown or non-explored by traditional pharma companies, so that you could truly get into some kind of share value concept on leveraging from social entrepreneurs in big pharma and truly helping these guys to move up and accelerate their businesses.
That's a powerful example. Thanks, Ángel, for sharing this. I want us to jump into kind of a different section, a game, if you want to call it. I'm going to give you one word, and you will give me top of mind idea that you will have. Sounds good?
Yes.
So the first one is startup.
Opportunity.
The second one is transformation.
Mandatory to survive.
You've led many of those. Tell us a little bit more. It's mandatory to survive, and it's usually tough to implement, right?
I mean, these days, no one on earth is going to have a successful business without two levers, in my view. One is technology, and the other one is impact. And not many companies are there yet. Unless you truly transform and understand that those are the new big levers of success in the future, you will not even be successful. You will not survive as a business. I'm convinced.
Yeah. The third one is responsible business.
I mean, in one word, I would say mandatory. We have a couple of analogies we use quite often here at Transcendent. One is I'm older than you, Naji. Not many years ago, people could smoke in the airplanes. And not many years ago, our parents put us at the back of the car without a safe belt. And they were not doing it because they didn't want us. It was because that was not the time for it. We are very close to go back and look in 5-6 years ago, look back to 2021 and say, wait a minute, these guys allowed business to run, not having their business with a minimum check of being responsible. That is my big bet on what we are doing these days, but that will come. And luckily, due to technology that is allowing us to have businesses being extremely more transparent than ever, we will be able to see which businesses are being responsible, which ones are not, and the ones that are not, they will need to evolve or transform, or they will not have a chance, because this will be a must. Going back to labor conditions, going back those topics that are luckily already a part of our routinely way of doing business, very soon we'll have the minimum check to be responsible business, or you are out of here.
Yeah, so true, and so needed, right? We won't be able to survive as a humanity if we don't deal with this immediately. There is I've read something like it's even already too late. So I'm not gonna give. I'm an optimistic like you, but it means that really we need to ramp up our capabilities on social impact for sure. Mm-hmm. The last one is spread love in organizations.
Yeah. I was expecting this one, not the other ones. It's funny because very early in my career, I met someone who was joining my team, and she was asking me, so what do you want to do? With your business career, and I was very naive, but I said, well, I want people to be enjoying what they are doing. I want them to enjoy being at work, and probably that was a very naive statement, or at least I was not able to support it as properly as I think I can do today. At this stage of my career, I struggle to see successful companies not spreading somehow love in their organizations. Or to put it in another way, successful companies that do not spread love are missing great opportunities of being even better by taking care of this as a very true business and managing tool. Again, I've seen very successful teams and very productive teams working with and without love and care. The ones where you can install and cultivate and work, because this is something that you can make happen. This candor and love and care between each other, they perform better. I think that there is evidence, empirical evidence that should be there. Now, far easier to say than to do. Unfortunately, the current circumstances with COVID, I was talking this morning with a big multinational saying we need to go back to finance more than we used to be a year and 2 months ago. Of course, again, dealing with a big company is not easy, but not forgetting this as a nice management lever. I think that I think that spreading love in organizations is an opportunity and a key success factor if you can do it properly. Yeah, and again, sorry, and I can be biased because I was blessed by having my development as in my professional career in Lilly, and it is a culture where I would say spread and love is part of the culture. So I'm again positively maybe biased on that, but I strongly feel it.
Yeah, and as you said, I think during those times, it's you link that to performance, right? And there are a bunch of things out there that show high winning performing teams have this genuine care, right? And I love that you're sharing. You've experienced that. You've done it with your teams very early on as a GM, and then growing in the organization, you kept on doing it. And I imagine now with your company, you kind of do it daily and you help others kind of build it.
And if I may, and then, I mean, and suddenly you see that spreading love somehow can link fully with any company's purpose. I mean, why are you as a company, why do you exist? And this is not, and it cannot be making money, because you want to do something better and if you are not here, what will the world or society miss? There is an element of care within any company. And even the ones that are there just for the money, well, they will not last for long. And looking into the future, they will last even less. Because all of them at some point, whether it is genuinely or because they are forced, again, going back to peer pressure, this is an element that needs to be embraced as a core competence in any business.
That's strong. Core competency. This is strong. I like that. Angel, you shared about, I know you're a big fan of reading things. You're so curious. I follow your curiosity and the things you look, and you're courageous to change things. Anything you're reading these days, or anything that you would advise us to have a look at or to follow for us to get into this transformational leadership and the social impact that you're at?
Yes, if one book by Sir Ronald Cohen, Impact. I'm not going to spoil the outstanding story of Sir Ronald Cohen. A book that is easy to read, with outstanding, at least for me, effects on how do you look at business. Another author, he has 3 books that for me has also been very influential. Mohammed Yunus, the father of microloans, Nobel Prize, Peace Nobel Prize, outstanding writer. The last book is like the 3 zero-sum effect, something like that. Those 2 books for me are key. Another one that I enjoyed reading last year is Reimagining Capitalism by a professor at Harvard Business School called Rebecca Henderson. And then we've been talking a lot about aspiration and wishes and the like, but at the end we're here to perform and we need to deliver, right? And a book that has been, and I still have a very near, and I use very often, is called The 4 Disciplines of Execution. Because at the end, this is about executing. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not becoming more naive as I get older. After we talk about all the things we've been talking, this is about making a business successful. And the 4 Disciplines of Execution is something that I've been using for more than 8 years. And at least for me, it works. Great books.
And you said it many times. It's how you combine both, right? Care, love, and discipline. It's about the how. Well, any final word of wisdom, Angel, for all those leaders and executives around the world, and maybe on the social impact that we need to have? Any advice, any word of wisdom?
It's been a pleasure talking with you, Naji. First of all, not only about impact or business impact. Probably the biggest learning for me, and that I'm trying still to keep it as alive as possible, is you can foster and cultivate curiosity. And everything in my career over the last 7 years or so has been based on building my curiosity, of reading different books, of following different people, whether it's Twitter, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's looking at book reviews. My stay curious is the name of the game. And as a business leader, I think that you cannot afford not being curious unless you have a team of curious people around you, which is a good plan B, but it's less fun. So find something that is not your core. Again, it can be impact, it can be technology, it can be both, but keep your brain fresh by cultivating your curiosity. That would be my advice, my suggestion.
Well, thanks again for this great conversation. I'm sure you sparkled this curiosity for all of us to go and look more into what social impact means for us to really make the world a better place for ourselves today and for the future generations. Thank you so much, Angel, again for your insights and this great conversation.
My pleasure. Thanks a lot for inviting me. Good talking with you, Naji.
Thank you all for tuning in. If you want to listen to more inspiring and powerful stories, make sure to keep an eye on SpreadLoveIO.com for new weekly episodes and subscribe to your favorite podcast app so you don't miss any of the special bonus episodes. And if you enjoyed this episode, we would love you and welcome any honest review. Let's stay in touch on Spread Love social media and keep spreading love in your organizations.